Welcome and good morning. And I invite you to take a couple of breaths in through your nose, out through the mouth, in through the top of the head, out through the belly. And let's just picture ourselves somewhere in the woods, walking in the woods, and feel the soft earth under your feet. Hear the sound of running water. Feel the wind, the breeze on your skin, smell the smells, and feel the whole of the earth that's carrying us forward as we walk. And we notice there's a place up ahead where there's a fire burning, an opening in the trees, and we walk into this opening and find our place by the fire. And just begin to warm your hands by the fire and find that place that's a special place just for you, whether you're one here to share your voice or here to listen. There's a special place by the fire. And around this fire, there's a circle of stones, and we give thanks for the stones. We give thanks for the sacred circle of trees around us. And we give thanks to all the animals that are here with us, whether they become seen or they remain invisible. Let's take one big deep breath together in your own way. Because we're inviting in the tricksters. Feel the deep roots under your feet grounding you for whatever may come.
Thank you, David. Today we have four of us here. There's Momo today, and Margaret, and David, and myself. And we're going to be talking about the Tricksters. And I was really thinking about Tricksters this morning, and I was thinking that we're all kind of tricksters. And I was thinking especially how much my children were tricksters for me early on. And some of that is that tricksters make us laugh at some point. They may also make us cry, and they ultimately help us surrender to whatever is happening in front of us, whether we like it or not. And we're surrendering to our kind of fixed beliefs and our thoughts that are really held, and our seriousness. So today we're going to introduce a few different trickster stories to bring joy into the world, and hopefully make you laugh. But if it makes you cry, trust that too. And Momo is going to start us off today.
Hi. I had a trickster just come in while you were introducing. We had a space here of quiet, and there was no one here, and then someone came in and wanted to get out the garbage. And so it's like, thank you for taking out the garbage. Yeah, the tricksters come in and they do all kinds of things that are unexpected, and often are processing things that we may not be aware of, I may not be aware of. And the one story that I want to share with you is the most immediate story right now in my life. And it's also a very long story. So I'm going to share it very briefly. I have moved constantly for most of my life from place to place as far as living situations. For a very long time, at least the last 8 to 10 years, I've been looking for a place to land for the long term, to really put my roots in and have land-based community of coherence that is guided by the dream arc and the gene keys and this kind of way of life that is so intimately interwoven with all creation. And yet, honestly, that lineage has, in this lifetime, eluded me. I've continued to play and move and trick my way around and through all kinds of spaces and places of adventure. And so there was one more adventure that needed to happen, which was a drive from Colorado to who knows where in the southeast. And it's with a friend, and basically the day and the moment that she picked me up 3 weeks ago, suddenly there were turkey vultures that were in places that I had never seen them. They were right in front of our car, like as we were leaving, floating and guiding our car out of the driveway. So for some of you may know that the turkey vulture is a representative of the 32nd gene key of veneration. And it has to do with preserving lineages and also guiding to a resonant resolution. And so that's all I've been praying for my life, has been a resonant resolution to this quandary of where will I live for a longer time than a short time. And so now, that dream fantasy, which I had a lot of fear of it failing, and that is the friend trickster called the earthworm. So most of this trip was during the 35th gene key transit, and some of you may know that the 35th gene key is called wormholes and miracles. And I was actually kind of surprised to know that the earthworm was not the 35, it's related to the 35, of course, because it's about making wormholes, but it's how to enter those wormholes into like a lasting experience. And for me, that has found its way to a place in Virginia, which I would have never known. It's very fascinating to land here. The space the name of the place is the Heart. And one of the first nights I was here, they built a new fire circle, and we all sat around the fire circle. We all gathered and we sang songs, and we saw, the worms, I mean, not the worms, the fireflies coming in for the beginning of spring and summer. And then I had an opportunity to tend what's called the Garden of Mary. They have a garden here that is on a hillside, and it has a fountain. It's a fountain that comes out, and Mary is standing at the top of the fountain, and Kuan Yin is at the base where the pool is, where the fountain goes to. And so I was asked to tend this garden. And the first thing that happened when I went down to put my hands in, like literally like 6 or 7, I don't know, lots of earthworms came out from the ground. And I've lived in lots of different places, and I've been in Colorado for a long time, and that never happens in Colorado. Like, you don't find that kind of richness of the soil where there is just life, like teeming everywhere. And so these earthworms came out, and I felt such joy. Like, there was no sense of squeamishness or anything. It was just like, this is like rich land. This land can grow anything. This land, I can like nourish and find fertility here. The first night I was here, there was lots of frogs singing, and they're not singing now, but I also felt this sense of fertility here. And the name of the land, like I said, is Heart, is the Heart. And it's the first place that I've come with other people where it's resonated with the 3 words that have been my guiding words. The 3 words during this past couple of months of going like, okay, this is going to culminate very soon, just knowing that. We're to find community where there is adore, so we adore one another, adopt, we adopt one another, and we adapt with one another. And we adore and adapt not only with the humans, but with all the creatures seen and unseen. And I've never found that in my life where there was a mutual wish and a mutual commitment and desire and longing and capacity to do that. And not only to do that, but to allow each of us to be authentically ourselves, to express and experience our shadows with one another, but not in a way of so much struggle or projection, but in a way of celebration, in a way of literally eating that dirt, eating that, like, nourishment that is the shadow energy and the shadow power. So I think that basically the whole way, when we didn't know where we were going and we'd get to these like literal crossroads and say, okay, what's next? I would ask my friend who had a sacral authority. I don't choose those things that way. I choose by speaking. I have a different authority. And so I would say, all things considered, is it optimal that we go this way? And she would go, And then I would say, all things considered, is it optimal we go this way? And we just would go. Like every crossroad would be like that. And then right away, the turkey vultures would come. And they'd be like confirming and affirming that. Literally, I have never seen so many turkey vultures as in the last 2 weeks. Like there have been unbelievable amounts of turkey vultures. So I feel like there's a resonance to resolution that is in play. It has to do with moving past my fear of failure. There were so many layers and levels that I felt I was going to fail, physically, financially, energetically, relationally, etc., not good enough, etc. I'm going to read one little part of the earthworm gift. And the thing is that even when I commit to something that I know is going to last for a long time, we must keep those adventurous wormholes open. And it doesn't mean that it has to be in the physical. It just means on the levels of creation that we need to stay open to the divine gifts that are going to come and to being able to receive them and let that energy keep moving. So the one very, very special thing about this place, besides that the earthworms are moving around and nourishing and figuring out what's happening under the ground, is that there is a river that runs right through this land. And this place is graced by that constant flow of this river. And it graces it with so many things, but the river itself is like a wormhole. So I'll say, my teaching is specific to your problem because I hold the key to one of your greatest fears, my greatest fears, the fear of failure. It is the fear that I will not have enough that lies in my deep distrust of the interconnectedness of all beings. When I acted from that fear, I shut down the fractal lines of possibility for miracles. And I've noticed that as I allowed that to open up, these wormholes, the web of fortune has literally opened in the most specific, magical, unbelievable ways that I've never, ever seen. Like, it's like architecture. And basically, the earthworm says, keep your wormholes open, always keep the energy moving. Your experience is the soil. It must be digested, contemplated, and let go of. Your money, too, is soil. It must be used to create more joy, and then it leads to other wormholes, and the more will continue to flow. Thank you.
wonderful Momo. Welcome to your wormholes and to place of belonging and being. Such deep gratitude for your story. Thank you. All right. I guess I was having trouble picking what trickster I would like to sort of talk about, but I think I'm going to talk about one that has been in my life recently in the last probably 4, 5, 6 weeks, and that is Merlin. And Merlin is a falcon, a small falcon bird that is very, very fast. And in the dream arc, we call it invisible magic. And it's gene key 26, and it's which the city is invisibility. And I've had the pleasure of finding them up at the park and originally seeing one and hearing its call. It has a very, very distinct call. And then I started to hear another call that was similar. And I learned that the male and the females have different calls. So I realized there was a mating pair just up the street. And so I went up and visited them a couple of nights in a row. And I got to see the mating of the birds. It was very cool. And I did a little bit, I'm a lifelong learner. So I did some research and things. And then they disappeared. And then they've now are playing this mysterious role in life because they're appearing every once in a while. And they appeared a week ago in some trees just on our little cul-de-sac. And it turned out there was an owl in the tree that they were quite concerned about. And so they were sweeping in and sweeping out from this owl and back to the tree and yak, 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 yak. And it was so interesting to see and hear them telling their story of this owl. And then I realized there was something. And so we did actually go around and see that there was a great horned owl in this tree. What I sort of, and then since then, we've seen them flying a bit more, but I have no idea where they live. They just come and go. They have this mysterious element. And even though I'm like really attached to seeing them more and things like that, I just simply have to surrender to whatever is going to happen. And for me, it's the invisibleness of the magic that is weaving in our life. And their call is each very distinct, as I said. And I feel like it's kind of like we each have our distinct invisible call or visible call, and that we all are sharing this web of the invisible. And there is magic in this invisible. And this is the question that I keep saying, can I be fully open to the magic and surrender to exactly what is happening in front of me, and without expectation, complete detachment, and let it simply flow? And it's a challenge. Of course, it's a challenge, but I like a challenge. So we'll keep on that idea. And the magic of life, that's the invisible, and the trickster of the Merlin, coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. So that is my story for today.
Hi, this is Margaret. I also had quite a challenge deciding which trickster I might talk about today. The one that I'm working with closely in the dream arc right now is the magpie. But as I'm opening my mouth to speak, it's the coyote that wants to show up. And I always get a little bit excited when I talk about coyote because it is such a it is such a trickster energy. It's so unpredictable and uh, the story that I want to tell is actually not my story. It's my husband's story, but I've heard it very many times, and I asked permission just in case it showed up for me today, if I could relate this story. So many years ago, when my husband and I were living on his parents' ranch, helping out there, he was outside and heard this sort of really strange noise and then saw something just incredibly unexpected. In the distance, maybe 50 yards away or maybe a little less, there was a coyote on this old rock wall. He was walking along the rock wall, and all of a sudden he stood up on his hind legs and began to walk on the wall on his hind legs and was sauntering, you know, how an animal would do if they were walking on two legs instead of their four, along this wall. And he described it as if this coyote had a top hat and a cane and was sort of dancing along the wall. And he watched it for a little while and was wondering what the heck is going on. And then he saw his parents' dog watching the coyote and coming closer. And the coyote, he realized, was tempting the dog to come over to the wall. And on the other side of the wall, he could see occasionally these ears coming, and these other coyotes peeking over the wall. And so basically, this coyote was saying, "Hey, follow me. I'm like a person. I'm on two legs. Why don't you come over here and see what's going on?" And he let it go on for a little while because he was, you know, wanting to see, but he didn't want the dog to get too close. So finally, he sort of interrupted this, but the coyote stayed on its hind legs right up until he interrupted it by calling the dog away. And it was, and I came out, actually, I caught the tail end of it and saw the coyote come down off of its hind legs and jump over the wall. And then all of the coyotes ran away. And I'm still not entirely sure about the message or the story, except for that it was this incredible act of this playful innovation to try and reach a particular end and to playfully guide someone into probably their end or their great misfortune. and and I just thought I thought I would share that because it's so almost unbelievable, but it actually happened, and it just has remained with me as such an incredible trickster energy and story. So that's my share for today.
I love that image. It's all morning I've been feeling the image of Wile E. Coyote, you know, the cartoon character, and he's such a wonderful character, you know. And that poor roadrunner, he just endlessly is planning and trying to figure out how to catch the roadrunner for dinner, and you know, using complicated, you know, Acme kits to trap the poor bird, and every time he falls flat on his face or gets squashed by an anvil, or and so I have a little something to share from the coyote. But the tricksters, I had that same feeling. Like the tricksters are so um, there's so much potential for the tricksters to appear in the form of any creature or any person or any situation that it's almost mind-boggling in a way. And even in the sense of like these images of um, one of the most sacred ceremonial cultures that I know of, the Hopi, that had their ritual to allow creation to continue. It was very serious. They had very specific trickster figures that were there to like whack people up the side of the head, or, you know, make lewd demonstrations of sexual behavior. Things just shock people out of their doldrums of inattention or seriousness, and so I feel like it's really interesting to feel and to realize that I am the trickster, I am the fool, and I'm I constantly falling flat on my face and getting back up again. It's if you speak Gene Keys numbers, it's a line 3 thing, right? But we all have it, and we all have it. And to me, it's like also a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and um, so I just love the trickster animals that are designated in the dream arc. Certainly, I relate to the monkey. I'm the monkey boy. The ladybug is all pervading in my life right now, reminding me that all those things that I'm so sorrowful and intense about are really a stroke of good luck. And it's ironic in a way. But you really also touch me with your story, Momo, and your story, Anne and Margaret. But this feeling of wanting to be in a spiritual community of like-minded people is something that my wife and I held since we were very young, and essentially, have wandered hither and yon, not finding it. And in this very moment, I sort of have this feeling like the trickster saying, "Oh, really? Look at these friends that are just with you right now around this campfire. Look at all the friends that are here with you in your life." And so there's like a divine silent laughter there. Um, I'm going to uh, share a message that I received and wrote from Coyote some years ago, but it feels very appropriate, very fitting, and not the whole thing, but part of it here. Because at some point in his transmission here, the Coyote said, "I have another gift for you now. It is the gift of collaboration. I work together with other members of my clan when seeking my prey. In this way, we all are well fed. You will do well with this medicine now as Earth Mother labors in the transition to the new world. Come together with friends, families, and groups to support one another and manifest that which you can imagine of peace, harmony, and prosperity. Will you fall flat on your face? Of course! I will be there to laugh with you and pick you back up. You see, in this world, you have created war, anxiety, and poverty, which seem to multiply daily. Remember, coyote medicine, when you begin to feel anxious or afraid, remember that everything is all right in the end. Learn to laugh at yourself as I do and learn to work in harmony with those around you. Laughter is a key to break the tension and bring you back to your heart's natural love. And when you fail, remember that all wisdom comes from failure. Jump recklessly into the heart of your worst fear or failure. Find the wisdom lesson it holds, then laugh again and again. That is why stories are so often retold. My stories are so often retold. Often failure is the best medicine, and it's very instructive. It's the truly hilarious how well you hide your treasures right within yourself, in front of your own nose, afraid to use them. Fear itself can be a gift if you choose to use it as such. Be awake and ready. I have many tricks up my sleeve and I'm feeling playful. A great saint once said, a tiny bubble of laughter, I am become the sea of mirth itself. With smiles from the core heart, I, Coyote, leave you in the sea of mirth. Thank you, Coyote. Thank you, Coyote. Thank you, Coyote.
Yep, yep, yep.
I'm just going to add one little story. I'm going to break all the rules here. I was listening in my heart and I kept getting this saying that a friend of mine from years ago used to say, fear is your greatest teacher because it's always with you. And I've contemplated that and never gotten to the heart of it really. But then I thought of him and I thought, I wonder if he's still around. And I found his email and I sent him an email and I said, I love you. And that's all I told him. And, uh, and then he emailed me back and he said, you know, I've been a monk for the last 6 months and was really feeling alone. And so you were like a bolt of lightning. And I was just feeling how the trickster can be like a bolt of lightning to allow love to flow because, friendships are all around and they're worth cultivating. And sometimes I forget in my seriousness. Oh, I'm complete.
Thank you all. Beautiful circle of light.